If you're new here, I'm so glad you stopped by for this one. I'm Kimberly. This is Pretty Over 50, where we talk everything makeup, skincare, and style for the over 50 woman. And clearly, we cover a lot more here on the channel. I hope you'll consider subscribing while you're here and make sure you click that notification bell so you don't miss any of my upcoming videos. Well, it's morning here at the house. I'm on my second cup of coffee, and it's time to harvest my latest crop of microgreens. I started growing microgreens about 2 to 3 months ago. I really can't remember now. I think it's been closer to 3 months. And I'll tell you what, ladies, it is so easy. It really is. It is so easy, and the benefits are so extraordinary. I hope that this will encourage you to start growing microgreens in your own home. I have been involved in gardening for a long time. I grew up eating vegetables and fruits out of my grandmother's garden, and that continued throughout my life. I did have a huge garden at one point when I lived on 3 acres. I had 27 chickens, 5 dogs, 4 cats. It was quite the brood there, and I had a huge winter and summer garden. And I can tell you what, growing microgreens is so much easier than having a full garden. Although I love a full garden, with microgreens you don't have to worry about pests, you don't have to worry about critters coming into your garden, you don't have to weed. It's not a huge deal to harvest. I mean, it is so easy, and the nutritional benefits are just extraordinary. I grow microgreens all the time now. In other words, at all times I have microgreens growing, and I have the microgreens incorporated into my diet. I love it. It's so easy, and I'm going to give you all my best tips and tricks today. This is where I grow my microgreens, and you can see it's just a little shelf, a wire shelf that I got off of Amazon, and it fits right in the corner of this little room. And let me show you what else is in this room. My rebounder, which I love, and my filming table. So this is my filming studio. The reason I have it in here is because this room has space, and it's light and bright. And you can see that the little rascals are in here visiting with me. What I'm going to share today are the very best, easy step-by-step processes that I have incorporated into my microgreen journey. I am not going to show you how to grow microgreens from the beginning to the end, because there are so many awesome channels here on YouTube that are going to show you exactly how to do that, and the content is already out there. As a matter of fact, that's exactly how I learned to grow microgreens, was just by watching YouTube videos. If you're interested in getting started, I'm going to link the channel that I really have learned so much from. It's called On the Grow, and this little gal and her husband are professional microgreen growers, and they have hundreds of videos over on their channel that I watched to learn the whole process. They're fun to watch, they're so informative, and you'll learn everything you need to learn about growing microgreens. But here's the thing, they are professional growers. They're not home growers like I am. And I have learned a lot of ways to do things to grow microgreens at home that are different than professional growers. So what I can tell you is go on over to that channel and watch a few of their getting started with microgreen videos, and then come back here and I'm going to give you the hot tips, the stuff that you really need, the stuff that you don't need, and just exactly how I do it so easily and conveniently right in my home. As you can see, these trays of microgreens are looking pretty doggone good, and it's harvest day. What I mostly use my microgreens for are 2 different recipes. One is a soup recipe that is so good. It is a cold cucumber and microgreen soup. I've done a video on that, and you'll be able to see the recipe step by step. The other thing that I use my microgreens for is salads. I make so many salads with my microgreens. And the cool thing is that microgreens are a great base, like lettuce, that you can create all kinds of different salads. I do Greek salads, Mexican salads, Asian salads, chopped salads, any type of salads. I just use microgreens now as the base. Maybe I'll add a little bit of lettuce, but the nutritional value of these microgreens is so exceptional. I have heard that up to 800 times the nutritional value from a microgreen than from the full-grown plant. So just that alone, with the fact that they're delicious, is a great reason to grow microgreens in your own kitchen. One thing I want to point out to you, and this is a pro tip, is you'll notice on this tray right here, these microgreens are starting to lay down a little bit. The reason is because you want to stop watering them at least 24 hours before you're going to harvest, because you want your greens as dry as possible before you store them so they'll stay fresher longer. I watered this tray yesterday morning, and you can see they're starting to lay down from lack of water. That's not a bad sign, that's a good sign. That's telling me that my microgreens are really nice and dried out and great for harvesting right now. Let's go ahead and harvest these trays, and then I'll show you exactly how I put together a brand new crop of microgreens. Now we're going to start out with the tips that I've learned that make this process so much easier. I have settled on growing 3 flats of microgreens at a time, and I pretty much grow the same seeds every time. I grow arugula because I love the spiciness of arugula. I grow a spicy salad mix, and I also grow broccoli microgreens. The reason why I grow broccoli microgreens is for the sulforaphane, which is an incredible nutrient that you really want to get into your diet. The broccoli microgreens are very, very mild, and they're very, very delicious, and I like to throw them in my salads and my soup because I want that sulforaphane in my diet. The first pro tips I can give you is get one of these knives. I'll tell you what, this has saved me. This is some type of little knife. I'll go ahead and have it linked down below. This makes it so much easier to harvest your microgreens. When I first started, I thought, you know what, I'll just use scissors. That'll be easy enough. I don't need to buy another knife. I've got plenty of knives. Well, you know what? I ended up buying this knife because trying to cut your microgreens with scissors is so very tedious. In addition, I picked up a few busboy plastic tubs because the amount of microgreens I'm going to harvest today won't fit in one of my bowls, so I use these tubs. You can just get these off of Amazon, and this is what I put my microgreens in to mix them up when I first harvest them. So what you want to do when you're harvesting is you've got your handy dandy knife, and this is sharp. So watch your fingers. You get your fingers in front of this, you're going to cut your finger. This little sucker has an edge on it. So you're going to start with your microgreens, and what I do is I just take my other hand and I grab them and I start cutting as close to that growing medium as possible. I don't want to get growing medium into the bucket where I'm putting my microgreens, but I do want to have as much of the stems as possible. So boom, there's the first little handful. Grab the second handful and off I go. Now that I'm done harvesting my microgreens, I'm going to go ahead and set these aside, and we're going to replant these trays. Cleaning out the growing medium from the tray when you're done harvesting is really easy. You just pull it up. It comes right on out. What you can do with this growing medium is if you have a compost pile, you can definitely put it in there. If you have just any area of your property where you could use a little bit more nutrients in that part of the property, you can go ahead and place this out there. But they clean out really, really easy. And then I just tap them out and go ahead and add the growing medium for the next round. Now that our trays are all cleaned out and ready for planting, let's talk about trays. And this is the next pro tip. When I first got started, I used this type of tray. This is called a 10-20 tray because of the size, 10 inches by 20 inches. And this is the most common size of microgreen trays. You can see that this tray is 2 inches deep. You don't want to get these. I tell you, I am not kidding you. This is what I first started growing with, and I quickly realized that this is not really what I want to grow in because the amount of growing medium on this type of tray is twice as much as what I use now. You can see these are both 10, 20 trays. One is 2 inches deep, one is 1 inch deep. And the 1 inch deep is what I found works really best for the home grower. I would have to use twice as much growing medium in this. It's heavier and the root system really doesn't need that much depth. The root system on a microgreen is not substantial and a 1 inch tray is really sufficient. I love these trays. You don't need nearly as much growing medium. They're easy to handle, they're not as heavy, and they work really, really well. So when you first get started, growing in a 1 inch tray is going to be the way to go. However, you are going to need some 2 inch trays. Why? Because part of the process of growing microgreens, you have to go through a period of waiting them and blackout. And what that means is for a couple of days, you actually need to weight your seeds. So you'll place this deeper tray on top of your microgreens, put a weight in it, and that's going to put pressure on the seeds and help them sprout more vigorously. The next step of the process is called blackout. And that's when you actually turn this upside down and you put the microgreens in a blackout period, which causes them to grow more vigorously vertically because they're looking for that sun. So make sure that you get the 2 inch trays for the weighted portion and the blackout portion. However many trays of microgreens you think you're going to be growing at one time, get that many 2 inch trays. For the 1 inch trays, you're going to need 2 1 inch trays for each tray of microgreens you're going to grow, because the top tray has holes in it so that you're able to bottom water it. I don't know if you can see the holes right here, but it's sitting in a tray with no holes. So each flat of microgreens that I grow has 2 1 inch trays, one for the growing medium and one to catch the water underneath. Right now I'm working with 6 1 inch trays because I do 3 flats of microgreens at a time. Now it's time to fill up our trays with growing medium, and what kind of growing medium is best? I'll tell you what, and this is the next pro tip. I have used potting mix and coco coir, and I'll tell you what, coco coir is best. It really is. Coco coir is shredded coconut hulls, and it's a byproduct of a coconut harvest, so it's a wonderful way to make sure we use all of the coconut plant. The reason I like coco coir so much better than growing medium is it's so easy and so compact. It comes shipped in these little cubes. You can see there's 3 cubes in here. What you do is you just add water and poof, it gets a whole lot bigger. I actually keep everything I need for growing my microgreens right here in the kitchen, and I even have my growing medium in this cupboard right behind me. Here is the coco coir that I'm currently working with, and what I have done is I've just added the cubes of coco coir to this bucket and added water, and it turns into this lovely mix. So I will put a brick of this coco coir into this bucket, add some water, give it a few minutes, and before you know it, you have this lovely, beautiful growing medium that's perfect for your microgreens. So now I'm going to fill up each one of these trays with the coco coir mixture, and I'm going to fill it almost to the top of this tray. Once I have the growing medium in the tray, then I go ahead and smooth that growing medium out because I want a fairly flat surface for my seeds to grow on. Also in this cupboard are my seeds and the little shaker bottle that I use to spread my seeds with. This is just a seasoning bottle that I cleaned out. It has a nice little shaker top that's perfect for adding seeds to my growing mix. When I first started growing microgreens, I had watched a ton of videos on the channel that I'm recommending on the grow. And I kept notes and I put dates by the little trays and I measured everything out and I did all that. And you know what? Now I'm much more relaxed about it. There really doesn't seem to be any way to screw this process up. So I no longer keep the notes by the trays because I can tell by the way the microgreens look on what stage they're in, whether I need to move them from weighted to blackout to the grow light. In addition, when I first started, I measured out all my seeds by weight. I had a little scale, the whole thing. I don't do that anymore. What I pretty much learned is you can't really screw up microgreens. So I just take my little container right here and add about 2 tablespoons, and I don't even measure it. I just sort of eyeball it into this container, and that's what I shake onto my growing medium. I'm going to be planting all 3 trays today, and the company that I've been buying my seeds from is called TrueLeaf, and I buy all organic seeds. This is the spicy salad mix from TrueLeaf, and I'm going to go ahead and pour about 2 tablespoons into my little shaker right here. I'm not going to measure it. I've pretty much learned over the weeks and months how much really works. So there we go. This is about 1/4 of the way full right here. You can see the seeds inside of there. Then I just put the shaker top on it. And now I'm just going to shake my seeds along that growing mix. And I'm just going to try to keep them a little bit even. But again, you don't have to be really stressed about this because this whole process, you know, the seeds do all the work. You don't really have to worry about getting it perfect. So I'm just going to shake the seeds over this growing mix, trying to keep them fairly even, filling in little blank spots as I go. And you can see right here, here are my seeds sitting on top of the growing medium, ready to go into the growing area and go through the waited period. Prior to moving the trays into the growing area and for the waited period of it, I'm going to mist them down with a solution of water and what is called ocean solution. This is wonderful because it's going to add nutrients into that growing mix. Cocoa core doesn't have any nutrients in it, it's just coconut shell. So you need to add some type of nutrient. I like the ocean solution. It's worked wonderfully for me, and what I do is I just take a container like this and put maybe a teaspoon of this mixture into my spray bottle, and then I just easily mist my seeds down before I place them onto the growing rack and wait them for a couple of days. Now all 3 trays are all seeded up and ready to go into the growing area. The first few days are going to be the waited period, and that's when those less expensive 2-inch trays are going to come into play. The waited period puts pressure on the seeds and creates a more vigorous growth from the seeds. So we have our 1-inch trays all planted up. We're going to take a 2-inch tray and put it right on top of those seeds. We want to weight this in order to put pressure on those seeds. You can use a lot of things for weights. A lot of people go to Home Depot and buy cinder blocks, or they use books. I just got creative and figured out something that I have around my house that I could use for weights, and that is my bags of cat food. I have several backup bags of cat food just in case the supply chain breaks down and I can't get cat food. So I have these around the house. They're nice and heavy. I just put that right on top of that tray, and that's going to provide the weight I need for the waited period of growing. So I have all 3 trays now in the growing station, and they're weighted with the cat food bags. They'll stay in the weighted position for about 2 to 3 days, just depending on how they're looking. This is day 2 of the weighted days, and you can see that the seeds are starting to come up just a little bit, but they're just starting to grow little roots, and that weighting helps that root process. I'm just going to spray them down until they're nice and moist, and then the top tray is going to go back down and the weight on it for probably another day and a half. This is day 3 of weighting the microgreens, and look, you can see down here at how the microgreens are actually pushing up. That weight, it always just amazes me how much power those little microgreens have. So today I'm going to take off the weight and go ahead and turn that top tray over for the blackout period. So I have my bags of cat food off the trays. I just go ahead and place them down on the bottom of the rack. And then I just lift this off, and you can see how much those microgreens have grown over the last 3 days. And around the edges, it's a little more green because a bit of light was peeking in and gives them that green color. So I'm going to go ahead and flip that tray over right there. And that's going to be blackout for the next couple of days. And what that blackout is going to do is it's going to encourage those microgreens to grow taller. They're going to start reaching up, looking for the sun, even though they can't find it because there's a tray on top, but it's going to create a taller microgreen. So I'm just going to go along and flip all of these trays over, and there, those are the broccoli right there. And you can see how much that they've grown during the waited period. And I'm going to put that tray over the top. They're going to be in blackout for just a couple of days, and we'll check back in when they're done with blackout. This is day 5 total, and it's the morning after the second day of blackout. And let's go ahead and check and see if they're ready to have the covers taken off. So what we're going to be looking for, oh goodness, yes they are, is tall reaching green. See how they're reaching for the sun because they were in that blackout. They strive taller and higher. So that is the spicy salad mix. This is the arugula microgreens, and let's see how the broccoli over here is doing. Oh yeah, really good. So we have 3 trays of beautiful microgreens. What I'm going to do is I'm going to bottom water them by lifting up the tray with the growing medium and putting the water in the very bottom tray. And I'm going to go ahead and turn on the light, and we will have microgreens in a few days. There are a wide range of lights that you can choose for growing your microgreens. Anything from inexpensive shop lights with a grow bulb in it to on up to very expensive lights. I ended up getting my lights from a company called Spider Farmer, which are very expensive. They're one of the top end lights. The reason I did that is because I know that I'm going to have a greenhouse in my future, and these grow lights will work in my greenhouse, and I wanted to go ahead and make the investment, not just waste money on lights that I won't continue to use. And I got the Spider Farmer lights. I'll have them listed down below. You might want to just review some of the microgreen growing channels if you want a more inexpensive light and find out what they recommend. You really have lots of choices at lots of different price points. I've affixed my grow light to the top shelf. I put it at a height that was appropriate for growing the microgreens, and I just measured it with measuring tape. And then I used S-hooks up here to hang the light with. The cool thing is that you can actually adjust this light up or down depending on how tight you have the S-hooks, in other words, how far out. So if I brought the S-hooks in, it would be a little bit lower onto the microgreens. This is the afternoon of day 3 of the greens being under the light, and you can see how beautifully green they are, and they're really getting nice and tall, and they're very, very hardy and strong. They're just really, really healthy and good. The way that I keep my microgreens straight, you can see that I don't have any labels on the trays. I've pretty much decided that there are 3 greens that I like to grow right now, and I just keep them in the same order. This one right here is arugula. This is spicy salad mix, and then this is broccoli. And I grow the broccoli microgreens for the sulforaphane, which is so incredibly good for us. So you can see they're coming along nicely. I'm getting hungry just looking at them. And they're doing all the work, and I'm just going to enjoy the harvest. The last thing that I do when I'm finishing up my microgreens planting, which is so easy, is I prepare my growing medium for the next time. I pretty much plant new trays about every 10 to 12 days. So I like to have my growing medium prepared and ready to go when I'm ready to plant again. You can see my bucket of growing medium is just about empty. So I'm going to go ahead and prepare that growing medium so it's really easy to get my trays planted next time around. I'm going to take my package of cocoa core, and I'm going to take 2 bricks out of that package, and you can see they just come really tightly compressed and compact. This is such a cool idea. And I'm going to put 2 bricks into this bucket, and then I'm just going to add some water. I pretty much just eyeball it. I want to soak the bricks really well and bring the water level up to about 1/3 of the way up the brick. What's going to happen is that coco coir is going to absorb that water in between my planting times, and when I come back, I just need to break it up with my fingers until it's a nice smooth medium, and I'm good to go. Those are my hot tips and tricks for growing nutritious, delicious microgreens at home. I am telling you gals, it is so easy and so worth it. I can't imagine a point in my life where I'm not going to be growing microgreens. The nutritional value and just how they taste is so lovely. I would really miss them if they weren't in my diet. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope you enjoyed this and found it helpful. If you did, go ahead and give it a thumbs up. If you're new here, make sure you smash that subscribe button and hit the notification bell so you don't miss any of my upcoming videos. And if you're interested in more makeup, skincare, and style, and more for the over 50 and over 60 woman, stop by prettyover50.com. There's a lot more great information just waiting for you there. I get so tickled when you take a few minutes out of your day to spend it with me. I appreciate that, and I appreciate you. Again, I'm Kimberly. This is Pretty Over 50, where we talk everything makeup, skincare, and style for the over 50 woman. Make it a great day, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye now.